This is Join Us in France, episode 74. Hello, I'm Annie, and today I am going to begin the show with the French tip of the week because you're going to need it to understand what I'm about to say. Today, I'm going to teach you a French expression that you will only encounter when talking about art or literature, you know, kind of the sustained level of speech. So it's an advanced French tip of the week, unlike the previous ones. But if you can slip that one in, you'll get lots of points just for knowing it. So the expression is une fois n'est pas coutume. Une fois n'est pas coutume. And it means doing it once doesn't mean you'll do it all the time. Or even more precisely, it may not be a good idea to do it more than once. So there you have it. Une fois, once, n'est pas coutume. Doesn't make it a habit. Une fois n'est pas coutume. So, what am I going to do today about which I want to say une fois n'est pas coutume? Well, I'm going to open the show with a poem. I'll read it right now, but you have to forgive me. I'm not very good at reading poems, and English is not even my native tongue, so it's a bit of a challenge, but I'll do my best. Let's see if you recognize it. Mine is the month of roses, yes, and mine the month of marriages. All pleasant sights and scents, the fragrance of the blossoming vine, the foliage of the valleys and the heights. Mine are the longest days, the loveliest nights. The mower's scythe makes music to my ear. I am the mother of all dear delights. I am the fairest daughter of the year. And that's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Oh, what a difficult name to say. Henry. First of all, I have to aspirate the H, right? Wadsworth. That's hard to say. And Longfellow with that strange O at the end. Anyway, for a French person, this is a tricky job. So don't feel bad about your French. See, I've been speaking English for years and there are still things that are difficult for me. So you might be wondering, well, I still don't know what you're going to be talking about. Well, I'm going to be answering a question that a lot of people ask me. And the question is, when is the best time to come to France? There isn't really a good answer for that typically, because the best month to come to France is whatever month that you can manage to come to France. And probably you don't really get a choice. You get your vacation, your ducks are all lined up in a row, you can do it at a specific time. And if that's how it is, that's when you should do it, definitely. But if you have your choice, if you have your druthers, well, I'm going to be arguing for the month of June. Now, before I get going into the show, I want to say thank you for your donations, Sue Bednaz and Arinda Dolter. You guys are wonderful. Thank you for making my day and encouraging me along this crazy endeavor to talk about all the places I love in France. Also, at the end of the show, Elyse was over at my house. We were recording a show that will air in a couple of weeks. And so I asked her the question about what does she think is the best month to come to France. And so you'll get to hear her answer at the end of the show. So why should you come to France in June? Let me count the ways. Well, the first thing is that real French life is still going on in June, meaning that associations are still going on. There's still school going on at least part of the year, the early part of June. Art exhibits are still going on. The opera, the ballet, the symphony, choir performances which will still be scheduled. It's part of the normal year. And I have mentioned before with Elyse that in France we follow the school schedule pretty tightly, which is to say when school is in session, and we don't have any of that year-round school thing at this time. So kids go to school September through early July. Now, in all honesty, the second half of June, nothing much happens at school, but still officially school is on. So September through early July is when the school year is on, and everything happens during those months. July and August, it's like life stops. Now, I know that when you're visiting France and you're in a big city and you're in a touristy area, well, it certainly does not appear like life has stopped. But their life, the locals' life has stopped because their kids don't do soccer anymore. They don't go to school. They don't have piano lessons or any of the other things that make up regular life in a country. So July and August are kind of artificial times when we know the country is geared up for tourism and vacations. And that's what we do in July and August. So regular activities like, the opera is not going to put on a massive production in July because they know all their regular patrons are away on vacation. All at different times, but people go away on vacation. So it's not a good time to put on a big show, for instance. Yes, of course, you will find shows. There are performance art groups that do nothing but performances for tourists. And that's the problem. That's what you're going to be seeing. Or in the summer, you also see a lot of music festivals and art festivals, theater, etc., that are not in Paris, not in the big cities. They're usually in minor cities. Famous people, musical groups, famous performers go into the cities to perform everywhere around France. But that's a summer-specific activity. It's not regular life. So that's one reason I think it's very good to come to France in June because regular productions of all sorts of things are still going on. So that's one reason. The other reason is if a major museum, such as the Orsay, the Louvre, whatever, if they are going to be hosting a special collection for a time, it's going to be in place already. So it's a very good time to be, it's not a time when a museum, it doesn't matter if it's a big one or a small one, July and August is not going to be the time when they decide, oh, we're going to tear down this exhibit and move it away to some other place. No, whatever's in place in June is going to be staying through the summer season, most likely. So you will get to see exhibits that have just arrived in France, that are just staying for a few months, and they will be in place in June already. So that's another very good reason, I think, to catch more cultural activities. To stay with the cultural theme, of course, the Fête de la Musique, so that's June 21st, is absolutely fabulous. Now, that's a celebration that's been going on for a couple of decades in France, maybe a little bit longer. I didn't look it up, but it's been 25 years. Every year, the first day of summer, so June 21st, people are invited to go into the streets and make music. Cities have organizations that put together, concert with like every half hour you're going to have a different artist performing on the stage. Restaurants very often have groups, and it's often friends, people they know who have a band, and they all invite that band to come play at their restaurant. Bars obviously have things. Some of it is lovely music. Some of it I don't care for, But you can walk around a city like Toulouse, which is not, it's not Paris. I'm sure it's even more in Paris and in bigger cities. But you can walk around a city like Toulouse and just be amazed at the diversity of music that you can hear. And I'm going to play a little clip of some of the things I recorded this year at the Fête de la Musique in Toulouse. It's absolutely fabulous. And it's a happy time. People go and they have a drink at the cafes and they enjoy walking around, and everybody's got a smile on their face. It's just a great time to be in France. And as a matter of fact, this year at the Fête de la Musique, I ran into some French friends who were hosting. A couple of American ladies were staying with them. And it's because the one had been an exchange student years ago, and she was visiting them again, and she had brought a friend. So the both of them were like, "Wow, this is fantastic! Seeing music everywhere like this." And sometimes it's just one guy playing the guitar, and sometimes it's a violin quartet. Sometimes it's drums. It could be punk music, rock music, all sorts of things. That's the beauty of music. there's something for everyone. So they thought it was a particularly good time to visit France. And yeah, maybe you're not going to go into the churches and the museums because you want to be out. But if on a lovely day like it was this year, why not? It's great walking around the city. And the last point I'm going to make is that one major reason why it's great to come in June is because fruit is wonderful in June. I know. This is the kind of thing I worry about. But, fruit in France is very good, very flavorful. If you go to the markets, the open air market, you're going to have all sorts of sights and scents. It's going to be wonderful. And in June is when the good stuff is back. Well, at least the good stuff in my book, because through the winter, you mostly have oranges, tangerines, and apples, right? It's not very much. Then as you get into April, you'll start getting fresh pears. You will get a few fruit coming in. And of course, in May, late April and all of May is strawberry season. So you're going to have fabulous strawberries. And in France, we have a lot of varieties of strawberries. And you rarely get that huge, beautiful strawberry that tastes like cardboard. We don't find those in France. I've heard, I had a French friend tell me that she found some at a store, but that is just anathema to the way French people think. Strawberries don't have to be perfect looking, but they have to be really, really flavorful. And you find lots and lots of different varieties to satisfy any palate. So you start seeing those late April, all of May, and we still have quite a few in June. Early June, you still find them. By the end of June, most of the really good ones, it's too hot for them. So, if you come late June, you will probably miss some of the strawberries. But what you're going to get instead is melons. Oh, melons. Cantaloupes is what I mean by melons. Watermelons as well. But cantaloupes in France are so good. The flavor is just amazing. We also get apricots, obviously, peaches, of course, nectarines, and for the vegetables, asparagus is in season. And then you start getting all of the, some good tomatoes start appearing. I mean, it's just a really, really good time to get back into lovely salads, wonderful fruit salads. As you go around the restaurants, you are going to find a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. And I think that's a wonderful way to enjoy France, because it's part of what we do. All right. Well, enough preaching for today. I'll let you make your decision. You know what you want to do. You know what you can do, what you cannot do. Anytime is good to come to France. But obviously, I think if you could possibly manage June, that would be awesome. And just to prove my point, here's some music that I recorded at Fête de la Musique this year. I'm going to start with some drummers that were very fun. And if you want to see photos of the performers, you can go to joinusinfrance.com/74. That was pretty fun, wasn't it? Now, the second thing I'm going to play for you was really, really good. That was my favorite, but we got to it at the end. It was a Jamaican beats kind of band called Kamazoe Orchestra, and they were really, really fun. So let me play a little bit of that. And that was on Place du Capitole. The first one was on Place Wilson that we've talked about on the show with Elyse. This one was Place du Capitole.
Merci beaucoup.
And the last couple of bits I'm going to play for you were also extremely fun. As you know, I like classical music, and every year at the Musée des Augustins in Toulouse, that we've talked about also a few times on the show, they have classical music. What I'm going to play for you today is a quartet that was playing a very intense, very edgy piece that was very wonderful, but I didn't catch the name, and because we couldn't stay for the whole thing. They just keep on playing and playing, and they don't hand out programs or anything. So I don't know what that was, but it was kind of fun to listen to. And the second thing is a classical guitar piece that was also very, very nice. And when that's done, I'm going to play the bit where Elyse tells you what she thinks is the best month to come to France. So here you go. So Elyse, I have to ask you. Why I think that visiting France in June is a very good idea. Do you think June is a particularly good time of year to visit France, or France in general? I mean, like if you had to pick one month, if you could pick any month.
If I had to pick any month.
Yeah.
Well, that's hard.
The wheels are turning.
No, because that's really hard, because I'm thinking of two different things. I probably would have said May or September. But the fact is, the reason I would say May is because in May, almost everywhere, there's still a lot of things that are in bloom. All of the flowering trees. I find that April, at the second half of April and May are the months that are absolutely gorgeous. The weather tends to be mild but not hot. Yeah. And so I really love the month of May. And also, quite honestly, you haven't got the high season prices for a lot of things. Right. Even though May is a very popular month, especially to go to Paris because you have the Roland Garros and you have a whole bunch of other things that
Yeah,
mean
Roland
that
Garros is the tennis
It's
tournament.
the tennis tournament, which mean that it means that you have to really book a whole lot ahead. I like September because the weather is still very beautiful and usually quite warm, but you don't have the huge crowds that you have in the summertime, and prices are lower.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Definitely airfare is much lower, and hotel prices are probably a little bit lower than you have in the highest part of the season. However, the reason I'm hesitating is because one of the things about June is that it is in June that you have almost all of the big cultural musical events. And you have the Fête de la Musique. You have all kinds of incredible things happening just about everywhere. Now, in the summertime, there are music festivals and festivals of all kinds everywhere in the country.
Yeah.
But it's the summer. What you and I would know what that means. It means it's very hot. It's usually quite crowded. It's very busy.
And it's for tourists.
And it's for tourists.
In July and August, a lot of the events that are put on are specifically intended to attract tourists.
Right.
Be they French tourists or foreign tourists, doesn't make any difference. They want to attract tourists.
Right.
Whereas if you go to a music festival in June or September even, then it's put together for the locals.
For the people who really live here.
Right. So you will get to see more of the local flavor.
I'm thinking about us here in Toulouse. We just had Rio Loco.
Yeah.
Fête de la Musique.
Yep.
And there was some other magical musical thing going on. And it was like for 3 or 4 days, Toulouse was just one big party.
Yes.
And it's great, you know. And now obviously people do come for it, but people don't specifically know usually that this is, I'm going to go to Toulouse or this city or that city because this is what's going to happen. But this is what happens, and it really creates a wonderful atmosphere.
Yeah.
The weather in June, of course, tends to be beautiful. It can be very hot because as you get towards the end of June, you're entering the real hot time of the year.
Yeah.
But I guess in a sense, it's a kind of toss up between, I'd say those are the 3 optimal months, really.
Optimal. So you'd say it's May, June, or September.
Yeah, I'd say May, June, or September.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still go, depending on whether you go north or south in France. I think October can be quite nice too, but there are a lot of things that do close down.
Yeah.
Obviously, museums don't close down, but
minor museums might.
They might, but you have a lot of hotels and restaurants. They don't shut down like they do right after Christmas, for 2 or 3 weeks. And
Right.
But it's a little less. There's a little less available in terms of different kinds of.
Well, like you show up at a hotel that has a beautiful pool.
Right.
The hotel has a beautiful swimming pool, but you can't use it because they're closing it down.
Right, exactly.
Because it's October. In May, it might be that it's not open yet, too.
It might not be open yet.
Yeah.
It might not be. It depends, I guess. May, though, has other advantages. I just think spring is so beautiful, that you have other things that you can do, even if it may not be quite hot enough to go into a pool. But you're right. The swimming pools tend to close by the end of September. The first week, or maybe if you're lucky, they're open to the beginning of October, but not necessarily.
Yeah. So there are things like that will start slowing down, and that you, as a tourist, it's important, especially if you come with kids. You want the pool to be open because
you want the pools to be open. You want the attraction, the parks that have activities for kids to be open. Obviously, there are certain that stay open all year, but a lot of them don't. And so, and of course, you're talking more family tourism in a sense too, because a lot of people who want to rent a gîte, which is not an apartment in the city, but a house in the countryside, a lot of people only rent their gîte for the warm months of the year.
Yeah.
They don't rent them for the winter months, so that's another thing that is a very good thing to keep in mind.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you. I asked you this because I'm putting together an episode on why I think June is a really, really good time of year to come. And since I had you at home recording another episode, I thought, might as well ask her.
Tell me, why do you think June is the best month?
I think June is the best month, mostly because, places like Versailles, for instance, they do plant a lot of stuff. I was in Versailles early May, and they hadn't planted a thing yet because up until late May, they might have a freeze. Mm-hmm. So they have things that are perennials that just come back.
Right.
And they take care of those. But they don't start planting annuals and have the beautiful, parterre de fleurs, so the big areas full of whatever, until mid-May is the earliest they're going to plant those. So that's one reason. Then the musical festivals, I think, are awesome.
Right.
And Fête de la Musique in particular. It doesn't matter where you are in France, unless you're in a tiny, 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 tiny place. You'll do better if you go to a big city somewhere in France. Doesn't matter which one. But that's very fun to see music on every street everywhere. Corner. I mean, some of it you love, some of it this year. I don't know if you were downtown.
No, we didn't go, actually.
Yeah. We went, but it was very fun to see music everywhere. And some of it I loved, and some of it I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah, well, everybody's allowed to play music.
Yeah. So it's all kinds of different tastes. So there's that. There's the fact that I think French people are in a good mood.
In June.
Because they can tell summer is right around the corner. And they are looking forward to their own vacations. Kids are happy because school is almost over. I think it's just, I can't remember all the points that I'm going to make in the episode because I don't have them all in my head right now. But there's a lot of good reasons, I think, why June is even better than May. And last year, both May and June were pretty wet.
Yeah.
This year, May was somewhat wet, but June has been very dry, very warm, and very pleasant. I mean,
and most of May was not bad either.
Yeah, most of May was not bad, but in May you still had days where it was like,
yeah, I do like September too, but I like it because I like the glow of that's left from the summer, and yet it's much less crowded, and but it's quieter. In the sense, I think May and June are the optimal months for everything that has to do with open things, activities, and stuff like that. I think coming in September, you don't yet have the big exhibits open in the museums.
Uh-huh.
The music festivals are pretty much finished by the beginning of September.
Yeah.
It's a time for kind of walking around and for not getting involved in the agitation, So I think it depends. But I think it is June. I think May and June are probably, in that sense, the best times to
All
come
right. Well,
around.
thank you for playing.
You're welcome.
It's good to have your opinion on that.
And I really do think that the springtime in France is just gorgeous,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, most places it's gorgeous.
just beautiful.
All right. Merci.
You're welcome.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
This brings us to the end of another Join Us in France travel podcast. You can leave a comment on the website, follow us on Facebook, or look for @Paris Podcast on Twitter. I put lots of information on Facebook and Twitter that never makes it into the shows. And also, this is a subliminal message. Join the mailing list. Now, today. You can do that on joinusinfriends.com. Look for the green button. Et c'est tout pour aujourd'hui.